Today's guest invites you to become present, honest, and sincere in every moment. Now, that sounds perfect for this show, Liberate Your Authentic Self. But how easy would it be for you to be present, honest, and sincere in the moment you have to tell your partner that you're not happy in the relationship or not satisfied sexually? As an authority on relationships and sexuality, Todd Malloy has been providing counseling and therapy for over 20 years. 6 years ago, he founded the Inner Peace Counseling Center, located in Charlotte, North Carolina, to create a safe space where emotional and sexual and personal healing could occur. The Inner Peace Counseling Center offers people a chance to maximize and celebrate their lives. As clinical director of the Inner Peace Counseling Center, Todd has established a safe haven where he can connect and partner with individuals and couples in times of emotional ebbs and flows, the crossroads of life, infidelity, rekindling intimacy, sexual skill development, and the many dimensions of sexuality. This goes well beyond the basic counseling. It is empowering others to live a life worth celebrating. Todd's latest venture is Man Cave Conversations, a forum to inform men in the areas of manhood, relationships, sexual health, intimacy, passion, and beyond, and provides women a bird's eye view of what men talk about in Man Cave Conversations. I think you're going to enjoy today's conversation. It's definitely been an eye-opener for me. Welcome to Liberate Your Authentic Self with Dr. Andrea Pennington, the prescription for living your life out loud. Well, Todd Malloy, it is wonderful to have you with us here at Liberate Your Authentic Self. Thank you for being here.
I appreciate it. It's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to connect and share information.
Well, Todd, I know that you are on a mission to go beyond your clinical practice there in the United States and to really start helping people on a much broader scale. And
yeah,
one of the key things about your mission that, of course, you know, speaks to me is this mission to join people in giving themselves permission to be their most authentic and most empowered selves. And I know that part of your framework or methodology relies on these very simple but very challenging concepts, and that is to be present, honest, and sincere in every moment. Where did that come from?
Well, really, it's been through my own personal journey. Obviously, therapeutically, I've learned a lot of therapeutic modalities. Matter of fact, EFT specifically really resonated with me. Emotionally focused therapy, developed by Sue Johnson, really resonated with me when I think about my perspective is that most of us, most people, my perspective, are traumatized. Mm-hmm. Traumatized not because you're just in a war-torn area or you had some awful things happen to you, but by systemic design outside of systemic oppression and family dysfunction. The trauma is a result of being, when you're a kid, you're supposed to be seen and not heard. When you get a little older, you get older and you think you can say some things. I'm a teenager now, I can say some things. But then you're told if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. Best be quiet.
Right.
Then when you get older, you have to be politically correct. So when are people able to tap into who they are, what their thoughts are, validate their own feeling and experience, and given the tools to articulate them? Whether consciously or subconsciously, people are to some degree said to go along with the program. Just accept what's being given to you and do the best you can with that. Don't connect inwardly. EFT my perspective of emotionally focused therapy says that people come from a perspective where people are emotionally repressed. Mm-hmm. And it's to get people to tap into their emotions and speak from that perspective. Now, at that resonating with me over time, with my own personal journey, me being an internal martial artist and having some working knowledge with Taoism, things of that nature, I've come into the importance and the understanding of now. And now is that, from my perspective, the most powerful time that exists. Because if we can be present and in the moment and recognizing what all of our resources are and really tap into what our experience is, by sharing our experience with others, helps to create the environment for our success and for the healthiest communication.
Well, that all sounds well and good. Being present, tuning into our emotions. But the other piece of it is honest and sincere in every moment. And I know that in your work as a, marriage and family therapist, you see cases of infidelity, right?
Yes, very often. Very often.
That to me seems like probably the most challenging time for a person to be sitting in front of their former beloved, and they've got to be present, honest, and sincere in those moments. And in fact, when you told me the story of Javier, that is not his real name, ladies and gentlemen, we are protecting his identity, but the story that you told me about how you helped him be present, honest, and sincere in every moment as he and his wife came to you for relationship issues, that one kind of blew my mind. So can you tell me that story?
Well, I can, but let me preface it first. And when I work with infidelity, the infidelity is not the focal point.
Okay.
Actually, infidelity is a result of things that were happening and that were being experienced prior to. That's a symptom, not root cause.
Got it.
So first, when I work with anybody, I help them understand that that's a symptom, not a root cause. And when you come to my office, they're not looking to separate or divorce initially.
Okay.
They're actually coming to gain a level of understanding first in order to make decisions going forward, whether it is to divorce or stay together. Some people choose just to stay together, but they need to work through those issues.
Yeah.
However, but to address it, it's not, okay, he did this, she did that, or whatever the case may be. It's what were those ingredients that led up to that experience. So when we talk about the concept of present, honest, sincere in every moment, we're starting early. And we will progress to talk about the infidelity itself, but we have to talk about what was going on before. Why are we here? Why are you here? Why did you make this choice? Why did you feel powerless, or whatever the case may be? So I met Javier and his wife, Rebecca. When I got the call was just about relationship issues. They have communication issues. They don't feel a connection. So they come in. Typically, when I see clients or couples, I usually bring them in together first. And then I separate the two of them. And then I bring them back together for that theoretically the fourth session. Number one is the first part is to level set. Let me get her perspective. Let me get his perspective. What is the goal? What is the objective? I start, I ask a little bit about the dynamics in the relationships, what each other's concerns are. But the truth is, no one's going to be, initially, people aren't willing to just say, here's all of my stuff in front of their partner.
Yeah.
Whether I found that whether couples like each other or dislike each other, people protect each other. Even though we're in a relationship, we've been intimate, we've been all of these things, I don't really want to hurt you irrespective of what I've done.
Okay.
So we will protect each other. First, the person will not disclose certain information, but the other partner, if I talk to one client, and I begin to push a button and the other partner knows that it's a sensitive area, the other partner will interrupt. Begin to speak for them. So to ask the hard questions, to begin to delve, I separate them. So we have an hour and a half, sometimes more, where I can sit with an individual by myself and ask the real questions. We can be transparent, we can be naked, we can be unashamed. So they come, Javier and Rebecca come to me. They have the communication issues. They don't feel connection. They share about how that they met. The challenges is the challenges that they met with. Javier is 40. Rebecca is 39. Both gorgeous people. They're the picture perfect people, the ones you put on magazine covers. Matter of fact, Javier is a former model, Calvin Klein Armani model, who he shared in his story that girls started liking him when he was in the second grade.
Wow.
In the second grade, little girls used to hug and kiss him. At his first sexual experience was at 14 from a college girl who was happened to come back from college and see him.
Wow.
He's never had to, because of what he looked like, he had never had to pursue anything. He comes from he's very physically fit, athletic. He was the high school All-American, all of those things. However, he came from a lower socioeconomic situation. So from his environment, he was structured not to really dig into himself, but to take on the persona of his environment. I mean, even to the point where he could have been a college athlete, but because of the socioeconomic situation of his family and the mantra that his family gave, he didn't think that was an option for him. He had to live the life of his parents.
Oh, wow.
In his particular situation, this is true, which was surprising. I hadn't heard this before. His family had a 36-page constitution on rules and regulations on how to live.
Are you serious?
Behavior. And this was real. This is real. And so you're sitting there, and as I'm sharing this, I'm hearing all of the boxes that he has been contained in and that he conformed to, as opposed to really connecting to his inner self. So with the type of attention that he got, with the type of framework he worked with, he was always a guy that, and he identified, I am not a communicator. So I don't know how to communicate my feelings and my emotions to my wife. The wife is saying, I'm tired of him shutting down, not communicating. Amy had her own blocks and barriers where she came from a family where she was the fixer. She came from her own set of family dysfunction. She lived in a bubble where everything had to look perfect. She's the perfect, she's the perfect everything. She's just as gorgeous as he is. So that's the model that they're working for. I have to be perfect, Rebecca. Javier says, well, I'm just going to play the game that's been given me. Neither one is connecting inside. Over time, Javier really understood that I'm a surface person. And it bothered him that he could not actually have a conversation. From what he shared with me, he said, all I would do is look and smile. And I'd get attention. Then people would start to talk to me.
So he just had to strike a pose, basically.
Yeah. People would just talk to him. He didn't have to pursue much. Opportunity was given to him based on what he looked like. One day he was at a photo shoot in California. He looked around at the room of people and he said, I'm in a room full of shallow people and I'm one of them.
Wow. Talk about self-awareness.
Yeah, and he just said, I can't do this anymore. I have to do something different. Meanwhile, all of these transformations are going on with him and these questions, and he's not communicating these things to his wife. So Javier, not being able to connect emotionally like he wanted to, and I have to take a sidebar here for a moment, step back to make sure that we're very clear about this, is that I shared with you about people being traumatized and repressed emotions. So, but all of it goes back to attachment theory. Irrespective of whether we have secure attachment, insecure attachment, ambivalent, avoidant, disorganized attachment styles, we all want to fit, we all want to belong, we all want to be nurtured.
Exactly. That's just part of our nature as a human organism, a human animal.
Correct. It's in our DNA.
It's universal.
How I explain it to people is simply this, and I recognize for the academic people, you may not like the way I do this, but I'm trying to talk to people. However, how I explain attachment theory is simply that when a baby is born, the doctor makes the baby cry. When the baby cries, they give the baby to the mother. The mother comforts the baby. Baby stops crying. You can't train that. That's not trained. That's in our DNA.
Yeah.
However, it shifts, changes, mutates based on the care that we have from our childhood forward. that creates a guarded personality, an avoidant personality, a needy personality, or yes, or conflict, or mixing. Yes, I want you, no, I don't. Yes, I want you, no, I don't. Because throughout life, we're taught what to trust and what we can't trust, and we play the same scenario as we are moving to relationships. So here it is: we have repressed emotions, we have these attachment issues. However, when we get married, this is our opportunity, in my mind, and my clients agree, that this was their opportunity for something different. This is our opportunity to have what we've always desired. But with that scenario, you have the blind with the blind trying to go somewhere neither one of them have been.
Right.
An accident waiting to happen.
Right. But especially because some of the blind, where they think they're going is maybe based on projection or fantasy.
Exactly. But and because of how life is designed, neither one of them have tools or perfected tools and skills to attain what it is that they're looking. Yeah. And that's why being present, honest, sincere in every moment is important. Because it requires that you tap into your experience, you share your experience, and then you identify where your goal is. But by being present, honest, sincere in every moment allows you to know where you are. It's easy for me to get to California if I know I'm in Wyoming. Yeah. But if I don't know that I'm in Wyoming, trying to get to California is extremely difficult.
So in this relationship therapy, did Javier get to the point where he could be honest with Rebecca and talk about how he felt like he was shallow?
Correct. Yes, exactly. Through this process, he was able to, first being in the individual session, he shared with me his story. He shared with me how he just he didn't have the language. He didn't know what to say, what to do. How would people look at him? Being that vulnerable, being that transparent is scary when you come from a very structured, disciplined type environment. We have the stereotypes. Well, the man is supposed to be the ideal. You don't ask for much. Your car breaks down. You're supposed to know how to fix it. You're supposed to have a solution to everything. So in the office, one of the benefits of me being a man working with men is that we can cut to the chase. I recognize we all have a sensitivity. As I said, we all have a little diva in us. So I was able to say, okay, I hear you. You look nice. You're gorgeous. Okay, cool. Now let's talk about what's really going on with you. And he was able to share how insecure he was. He was able to share how he had a low self-value because he didn't really know how to communicate. He knew how to smile. He didn't know how to connect and tap into his emotions and let his wife know how much he needed her and wanted her. And as subsequently, I obviously have to challenge him to say, okay, we need to have this conversation with your partner. And it's going to be difficult. I don't know what to say. I'm here. I'm partnering with you. I'm walking with you. We can do this together. And through this process, I'm modeling for him how to communicate. I'm sharing with him, hey, expand on this information. So when we're able to sit with his wife, we can incrementally begin to share.
Well, yes, when we get back from the break, I want you to take us into the therapy session where he does have this conversation and what unfolded. Because as you said, infidelity wasn't what brought them in. It was, communication issues. So when we get back, I'd love to hear how that unfolds. Tune in daily to get fired up with insight and inspiration for purposeful living, conscious relationships, and soulful success. You're watching Liberate Your Authentic Self with me, Dr. Andrea Pennington. Check out the live version of this show, where I answer your questions in real time. Visit facebook.com/Dr. Andrea Pennington. So with me today is Todd Malloy, and we're talking about how you can really be honest with yourself about your own shortcomings, and how you can be present, honest, and sincere in every moment, including with your beloved, including if you had to break the news about cheating. So Todd, before we went to break, you were talking to us about Javier and Rebecca, these picture-perfect couple that look like they have it all together, but underneath the pretty polish, neither of them was really feeling connected. And Javier in particular admitted that he felt shallow. As you helped him open up to just owning these feelings and admitting them to himself, talk to me about what happened in the therapy.
Okay. Well, when we were in session, I always start with, Javier, you know what we were talking about. I think it's important that you share this with your wife. You've practiced with me. We've talk it out. He shared with his wife about his vulnerabilities, how he didn't feel emotionally connected to her. He questioned whether she really wanted to marry him or not because of all of the activities that happened prior to the marriage. And subsequently, his wife responds to him, well, let me explain to you why you felt this way. And I'm sorry that you didn't feel connected to me, but let me explain why. So oftentimes, they've been together 10, 15 years. However, there are basic conversations that people have actually never had. She said that she saw his phone one time and had some texts in it that he had been with a woman prior to him being married. Like a week before he got married. So a week before he gets married, because he's an attractive guy, he attracts a lot of women. From that moment on, she never trusted him. Javier, because of his insecurities, liked to get the attention of women. He really didn't like to sleep with women. Well, I mean, he does like to sleep with women. But his pursuit was the chase, is to feed into my ego, feed my attention. However, because of what his wife saw before and what she was experiencing being with him, she did not trust him. However, through that process, again, they didn't come for infidelity reasons, but it came up because his wife shared her concerns. And she said she wants to know in session whether he had been unfaithful or not.
Wow.
And when she asked the question, I stopped it. I said, Javier, what's going on with you right now? He's talking about his emotions and all the things that he's doing, his fear. He felt like he had to vomit. And this is the process, because now the brain is doing some new stuff. New pathways are being created. Hey, we've never done this before. We're outside of our box. But through the process and through me guiding him through the process, he was able to say, yes, I have.
Wow.
He was able to say, yes. Now, how I frame that is sometimes if you want something, if you want a relationship, you have to be willing to fight for it. In order to fight for it, you have to be brave enough to ask a question, but you also have to be brave enough to get the answer.
That's
and
right.
Be willing to process through the emotions and through the ugliness and through the hurt. Because infidelity, the way I see it, is being traumatized. Here, my feet are on solid ground. I'm standing on the carpet. We're comfortable. You jerk the carpet from up under me. I am now thrown in the air, free falling, don't know when to hit ground. So through the infidelity process, you're talking, and what I always share is that now, obviously, you can imagine there's a flurry of questions coming back: who, what, when, where, why, how long, what you did, all of these different things.
Yeah.
But I slow the offended party down, and then because I said, why are those questions important? Particularly when they get graphic and you want to know all the juicy details: where'd you put it, how long did you put it? How come you never did those things to me, et cetera?
Right.
But I slow people down and say, hold on. Why are those questions important? Why do you want to pour salt in a wound on details that really don't have a relevance? Where did you learn to abuse yourself?
Wow.
So again, now in this moment, we have to deal with these feelings and these emotions. Where are they coming from? It's not just you asking a question. What's the underlying meaning?
But don't you think most humans, I mean, you say, where does it come from? I mean, that's just I know it feels like self-torture, but that's just the curiosity. Like, wait, I can't imagine. Wait, what, how? I could see that someone in that situation would want to ask those questions. At least to just put their own imagination to rest. Because I've had people tell me that they knew their partner was cheating, and the not knowing and the scenarios that they cooked up in their own mind was the worst torture.
Right. No, I agree with you, because the unknown, there's the fear of the unknown and all of those things. However, but also now once I hear, it affirms my perception.
Okay.
Now I have to process through if my imagination was accurate to all of these things.
So what did Rebecca respond? How did Rebecca respond when you said, okay, where are these questions coming from?
Right, because remember, we always give an output. All we hear is output.
Right.
That output has an underpinning. There's an experience that I'm having. It processes through the filters of my brain. I give the output. So the output isn't always a clear reflection of what your experience is. When we look at it from a core values perspective, there's some core need not met. It's not the question you're asking, it's where it's coming from. I don't feel secure. I don't feel safe. I don't feel valued. I don't feel wanted. I don't feel desired. Those are the real questions. It's not where'd you gave her you had oral play. So how long did you do it? What makes you made her squirt and you've never made me squirt?
All right.
It's what is going on from a core values perspective, the repressed emotion that have triggered your own insecurity, that have triggered other factors that have happened throughout your course of your life. Remember, content and conversation and environment content don't have as much value from my perspective as the feeling that you have. Because we respond to feeling, not necessarily the words that we hear.
Yeah. And so what did you uncover with Rebecca? I mean, were there particular issues that had been lingering or what?
Right. Part of the issue was the lack of trust, not feeling wanted, not feeling desired, which fed into her family, where she comes from a family of neglect. So when you come from a childhood of neglect, emotional neglect, sexual trauma, neglect and trauma have similar impact. What it does is it makes the world about everybody around you, not about you. Because I have to please people, I have to fix people, I have to entertain people to get their attention, to be able to get what I need, because I'm always hungry for something. So if I look like the pretty picture, but meanwhile, I'm neglecting my own feelings, my own experience. So even when Javier was saying, I love you and I value you and I appreciate you, she was saying, no, you don't. And she's saying, no, you don't. I mean, they've been intimate. I worked with them just the other day. And they shared with me that they've never had emotionally connected intimacy.
Wow.
Now, you figure this is like a porn movie waiting to happen. To these two beautiful people, intimate.
Right.
But no, they said, no, we got pieces and parts. We're physically attracted to each other, but the emotional connection and that experience they've actually never had because of Javier's experience of being shallow. The bubble that Rebecca created for herself didn't allow that. So now when you look at that, that's opening the door to confusion, because if you're not feeding my core needs, yes, I love you. Yes, I want to be with you, but I'm trying to communicate my core needs. I'm trying to communicate with you what my needs are. You're not meeting them. And eventually I'm exposed to make some very hard choices and to hurt you and disappoint you.
So in this situation, was Javier still seeing someone else? Was there ever an affair, or was it just, I know it's never just sex, but, was he looking for an emotional connection with someone through his affair?
No, actually for him, he was looking for emotional connection with his wife.
Wow.
However, the placebo was to get attention from other women. The placebo was, okay, now first it fed into just feed my ego, but after a while you play with something long enough, you got to do something about it. So now over the course of their relationship, he had to share that. He made a list. Matter of fact, it made his wife uncomfortable because she said, I just want to know. I want you to make a list. He opened his journal, because he was actually a guy that kind of journals. He opened his journal that I asked him to do, because I've asked him to help him process, because you're not always automatically able to verbalize your feelings and experience. So what we want to do is get you to just get them out first in writing, and then be able to build towards creating a language for it. He actually went through his journal, shared all the women he flirted with, and with the number of women that he slept with. She said she was horrified. However, she said, for her, at least now I know.
Wow.
He was not in that for the last year, he had not been having an affair, because he recognized he wanted his wife.
Wow.
So through this process, he's sharing his commitment, his fidelity to her. We're explaining the root cause of what's going on. But also, remember, the infidelity isn't about one person. It's about two people.
Yeah.
Both share a responsibility in this. Both share in the impact that the lack of intimacy because they're not people that had sex often. It was more maintenance driven as opposed to passion, raw passion, emotional connection, and all of those things. Here, they may have sex once a quarter, once every 2 months because, hey, look, this is just ridiculous. We need to take care of something. We got to take care of just maintenance since we are sexual people.
Yeah. So how do you help a couple move on from there? I mean, that sounds like, she didn't even know. She suspected it. It's probably almost even relief for her in one way, because as I was, thinking about how the mind can just sit there rolling and rolling and rolling, at least now she knows. But is there a way for them to build a true emotionally connected, intimate marriage after that?
Most definitely. First of all, there's research that identifies that infidelity could actually strengthen marriage because the reason being is that we're dealing with the root cause. And see, through the root cause, we recognize that it's a shared responsibility. No, do we ever approve or say, yes, the infidelity was the great thing or whatever? No. What it is let's understand how we got here, and do we see enough value in each other and what we can create, what we have created, to work through it. So yes, people can recover. Yes, people can move on. But now, are you vested enough to do the work? Is the only real question. Now, in this particular situation, Rebecca definitely knew that he had an affair because he brought home an STI. Wow. Now, this is the first time I've ever heard this. Multiple situations, clients, I get calls from distraught wives that have never been exposed to anything. Now their husband comes home and the only person, they're confident that they've only been with one person. However, even when she came up with the STI, he never spoke to her. So we had to process through all of the muck and the mire and so forth. Now, right now they're doing well. However, but the verdict is still out. Haven't made any. The key is that they're both coming into their most empowered self, that they can make the healthiest choices and decisions for them no matter what it is. My goal is not to determine whether they stay married or not. My goal is to empower them that they can see clearly and make the healthiest choices for them, whichever they are.
Wow, that is deep. That is, that's going to be some work. I don't know. That whole idea of bringing stuff home, bringing diseases into the crib, that is not cool. Well, Todd, the other thing I really want to explore, from this story and in your work, is that Javier got to the point where he realized he wasn't living his most authentic self. He was living this in a shell kind of existence. How does your work and your process help people get to that transformational change so that they can live as their most authentic self?
We start off really by asking questions. Those questions are, number one, we ask the biblical question, who are you? And really, there are two questions, whether in Javier's case, because I was talking to a person that identifies as male, I said, who are you? And give me your definition of manhood. Mm-hmm. By asking those questions, people know what they do. They don't really connect to who they are.
Yeah.
So what we begin to do is really talk about what your core interests are, what drives you, what motivates you, what excites you. Who are you outside of? If you take all of these things away, who are you? And who is it that you aspire to be? And we begin to walk through that process. We address the fears, the confusion, the doubt. We address that. We give people permission to define for themselves who they are and who they desire to be based on their own terms, as opposed to what's been told to them. Because if you've been given information when you were 5, 10 years old, is it really relevant at 30? But when we receive information from parents, from authority figures, we take it as gospel.
Yep.
But when we think about it, nothing is stagnant. Everything changes. Everything evolves. But are we evolving? Are we changing? Are we adapting to our environment? So no matter what the information is that you gathered over the course of your life, how is it relevant to who you are today and where you see yourself going forward? Therefore, the transformation happens. For those that may have some biblical understanding, it says, "Be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind." See, once I change my mind, my environment, my perspective, my goals, my drives are different. George Clinton said, I'll clean it up a little bit, "Free your mind and your tail will follow." The only hindrances, the only binds that we have are those that we place upon ourselves. We are our only limitation. If we really look at it, there have never really been any hindrances or boundaries or barriers in our life. There's no one that hurt us. There's really no one that stopped us in life. If you really think about it, it's the choices that we've made and the decisions that we've made based on the things that have happened. We choose the impact that something has on. Yes, we're going to be hurt. Yes, we're going to be disappointed. Yes, all of these things. But how we respond and react to it or act upon it is solely our responsibility.
Well, when we get back from this break, I want to talk about response ability, because the ability to respond when we were 2 or 3, we had very limited ability. So I get what you're saying, that our lives are based on how we have reacted, the choices that we've made. But when we're a child, we're not consciously making those choices. For some child who was abused or even bullied, we're making those choices because we've got to adapt to survive, or so we feel. We don't even think, we just feel. We go into that reptilian fight or flight mode. Mm-hmm. So I want you to, when we get back from the break, I want you to talk us through how we can get to that level of accountability and responsibility. Because if you're saying that we've all experienced some micro traumas, whether that was just a parent telling you to shut up and be quiet, or physical trauma, all of that is chipping away at our sense of self, chipping away at our sense of confidence and competence. Confidence that I'm allowed to express, and confidence in just being able to express what I want. So that seems like a whole lot we got to unravel when we get back from this break. You're watching Liberate Your Authentic Self with me, Dr. Andrea Pennington. Check me out on Instagram at Dr. Andrea Pennington. And now, back to the show. So we all like to say that we have our own accountability. Life is about the choices you make. Life isn't happening, to you, it's happening for you. Well, that all sounds well and good in the old personal development world. But what if you've been experiencing trauma since very early in your life? Well, Todd Malloy says we've even experienced little micro traumas. Every little hit to our self-esteem and our sense of self can knock us into these boxes. Well, Todd, I want you to help us get out of the box and reclaim our confidence and our ability to express ourselves, and then most importantly, to live a fully expressed and authentic life. Where do we begin?
Well, as I was sharing earlier, throughout the course of life and the experiences that we have, we're creating a story. It's like we've weaved a tapestry, and it has this glorious or these hideous things. However, but through the process, we have to challenge, particularly now once we become conscious adults, making decisions, finding ourselves tripping, find ourselves in these negative cycles that we can't seem to get out of, is really take a look at the story and how we weave this tapestry. My responsibility is to unweave that tapestry and to weave a tapestry of self-empowerment, authenticity, that people can live lives that they can celebrate. So even I've worked with people that have been traumatized, and we can look at that traumatization as either I was a victim or victorious. I really have the perspective, and because I come from a very strength-based perspective in my approach. And being strength-based is that, as opposed to being a victim, no, you're victorious. Why? Because I don't personally believe there's such thing as failure. There's no such thing as failure, irrespective of the things that I've been through in the course of my life, is because I'm here talking about it.
Right.
these opportunities are really lessons learned, but can I really look at the situation and the downfalls, the hurts, the pains, all of these different things that I've had in life? But now how do I reframe, recreate the story that I'm telling myself to empower myself?
Well, how do you do that? Because when someone has been knocked down, whether physically in, an abuse situation, or it just seems like life is knocking at you, it's hard to start saying, okay, I'm going to just reframe this. This isn't failure. I'm not a loser. Where do you begin with that?
Well, it's think about this. At an adulthood, young adulthood, there are really no feelings. Let's say they went through that type of experience. There are no feelings, experience, hurt, pain, or shame that they have not experienced before.
Yeah, okay.
I'm still here. It didn't destroy you.
Right.
Now it's about the choices that you're making. See, the fact of, and there are colloquialisms that I have that I don't know are fair to use online, but the point is that once you've had some horrific experiences and you felt weathered, beat down, all of those things, but you got up the next day, it's like, what? It came, I took your hardest hit. Yeah, I fell down, but I'm still here. What are you going to do?
I'm still here.
Right. I'm still here. I have a client I'm thinking about now who was neglected, didn't bathe but once a month, a young lady not bathing but once a month, who had to bathe in public in a trash can.
Wow.
Who was ridiculed by teachers because of her stench, didn't comb her hair, all of these different things. Had body images, all of these things. Was in a marriage. Her husband left her for a prostitute after extended periods of marriage. However, but through that, we were able to re-script her story. We were able to create and weave a new tapestry for her where she pulled all of those things together, where she poured it out in anger and frustration. As she moved through the course of life, she changed that into empowerment and used that same fuel to create an experience for her that was enjoyable, that was worth celebrating. That energy's going somewhere.
Right.
You choose how you want to direct it. Now, I could use it for my own destruction, or I can use it to create an environment for me moving forward that I can look forward to. See, once you've been through atrocity, once you've been through adversity and you still stand, what do I have to be afraid of? Once I become comfortable in the uncomfortable, there's nothing that can stop me. What's left? Nothing. Now I live in the field of all opportunity. I live in the field of all possibilities. Because my story is really a testimony of the strength, no matter what it looks like. I may have a bullet wound, I may have scars, I may have cellulite, but I'm here. I'm going to celebrate it.
Yeah.
And now let a perfect work be done.
I like it. I like it because it's just simply a reframe. It's changing the direction of the narrative. Instead of being a victim, giving up, or saying, poor me, woe is me, throwing that pity party. It's like, okay, let's turn that around. Yeah. Exactly.
So again, I get to spend, my days really being a part of the solution. Sometimes you're in a situation, you're hearing about infidelity, STIs, and any number of things. However, I recognize when I'm in there, I'm taking that story and weaving a tapestry of glory that they can build upon going forward, no matter what the choices they are. I have most of my clients, truth be told, have stayed together. But even those that have, and just last week, I had a couple figure out they don't want to be married anymore. But they were making clear, healthy choices, and they both understood, and they were able to have this conversation without the hostility. Hey, this is what it is. And for them, they just didn't want to put in the work. I've worked so hard in this relationship. I don't want to work this hard at this stage of my life at anything.
Wow.
Not at this stuff. I love you enough to not put you through it. Because now through that, remember, we're going to be triggered. The moment that he says he's going to be home at 5 and he comes home at 6, it's not like you forget. but there's going to trigger. Where were you? Give me your phone, pull up your Facebook, give me access to your email. All of these things, they're going to be triggered. But through time, that trust can be restored. It doesn't have a time limit, but it does have a level of commitment associated to it. If you can be committed to communication, to being present, honest, sincere in every moment, if you can be committed to what you said you want your partner to experience, you can get. No one comes together and says, I want to hurt you, I want to violate you, I want to disappoint you. No one gets married or joins in a couple that way. Why do I know this? Because if you say that you want to make somebody else miserable, you signed yourself up to the same movie.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So from the mere fact that you come to the table wanting to create an experience for yourself and for someone else, if you can be committed to that by connecting to yourself, sharing your experience, but they're always not good conversations.
Yeah.
These conversations are difficult. But that's the point of being an adult, is to have those hard conversations. So it's not about fussing and arguing. You know, it's okay to argue. I told my clients, it's okay to argue, but know why you're arguing and are you fighting for the relationship? Sometimes we got to have the ugly conversation, but it's how we use that information to cultivate a healthy move forward.
Well, I want to shift gears a little bit and talk about another way that you're using conversation to move your agenda forward and helping people, and that is through your man cave conversations.
Yeah.
So talk to me about this initiative and what you're hoping to achieve with the man cave conversations.
Well, Man Cave Conversations is a new baby of mine. It is about dispelling myths, to give accurate information in regards to manhood, relationship, intimacy, and passion from a male perspective. You know, there are many stereotypes about men in regards to the whole macho image and men don't ask questions, we don't go to the doctor, we don't do all things. And I can't say many of them are wrong. However, I think but those choices and decisions have relational impact.
Yeah.
So Man Cave Conversations is an opportunity to have a forum of men where we talk about sex, sexuality, we talk about sexual health, we talk about relationships, definition of manhood, in a form upon which is recorded, put online, but then it gives the opportunity for women to watch and begin to stimulate relational conversation.
So it's like we ladies get to be a fly on the wall to understand what y'all really think, what you're really struggling with, and you're there to facilitate these conversations with the fellas. You know, I get it.
Exactly. So we talk about women's attire, what it means to them. You know, who are you going to take home? Who are you going to build with?
Yeah.
We share about. Actually, the interesting thing is that I'm able to even talk about sex. You know, with men and what they want, what they desire. But the interesting thing that I'm finding is that men aren't as sexually astute as we think. We know we got pieces and parts. They do what they do with pieces and parts, but they really don't know what the pelvic. I was in a room full of men. None of them understood the pelvic region of a woman, where the sensitive areas are, and so forth. So there's a lot of misinformation, a lack of education that I believe that. You know, I may not be able to take care of everybody in the world, but there are certain pillars that if you impact certain pillars, you have that will resonate throughout society. So in me being a part of a solution, Man Cave Conversations is another venue where I can connect to men in very transparent and raw places, still being present, honest, sincere in every moment. Because in those moments, they're being transparent, they're being very vulnerable. But now as they're that vulnerable, that transparent, that sincere in every moment, now women or their partners, whoever they may be, are able to glean information and build healthier, stronger relationships. But also think of what the bondage a man moves through. Throughout life, you're 18, you know, you got an erection that is just great. You're 45 and it just doesn't act the same. Mm. But who do you talk to during that process? How do you share with your partner, hey, I'm not rejecting you sexually, because a lot of women are feeling rejected during those transformational periods. You're not being rejected. This is what's going on with me. I take responsibility of it. However, we're secure with those types of things. But when we begin to explain the process, what happened, how to address it, women don't feel rejected. Men feel secure about who they are. We can still foster the healthiest types of relationships.
So now that you've finished season 1 of Man Cave, will you do it again? Will you take it on the road, or what's next?
Actually, I'm in the process of preparing for the second season. Actually, after the second season, we're going to focus primarily on relationships. And then what we're actually doing is going to bring an audience of women in. Where we're going to have the conversation. So the women will actually up front have to watch season 1 and men's concepts about relationship. But then we'll put both in the same room and we're going to have the dialogue. So I'm looking forward to it. A lot of people are excited about it. So again, it's a lot of positive things going on.
And where can we find that? Is it mancaveconversations.com?
Correct. You can find it on mancaveconversations.com. We're also Facebook, Man Cave Conversations on Facebook, Man Cave Convo on Twitter. But you can find us online 24 hours a day.
All right now. Well, Todd, this has been an enlightening conversation, just getting a little bit of a hint of what's going on inside of your mind and inside of your therapy office. So thank you for being, present, honest, and sincere in our conversation. I do want to bring you back, though, so we can talk a little bit more about the other side of it, and that is some of the stuff you're finding out with women, because I would bet that women are opening up to you when they're talking about their stuff in a way that's very enlightening as well.
Yes, very much so. I look forward to the opportunity. I always enjoy our encounters, so thank you.
Yes, I do as well. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I will put all the links below the video and in the podcast and radio description so that you can check out Todd Malloy at the Inner Peace Counseling Center and his Man Cave Conversations. Well, it has been a pleasure, and I want to remind our audience that you are a gift to the world. So share your presence with passion. And until next time, may you be free from suffering. May you be truly well in body, mind, and heart. And may you know true happiness. Much love. See you. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at Dr. Andrea. And did you know I'm on the radio daily? Visit AmericaOutloud.com to download the Talk Radio app.